What do you do when your wife abuses you and wants to commit suicide? Coming up next on Pastor Bob Daily. What do you do when your wife abuses you? That's an interesting question. Here's the whole question. Dear Pastor Bob, I've been in an abusive relationship for the last 6 years. My wife hurts me, and she tries to commit suicide to get my attention. I want to leave the marriage, but the Bible tells me the only way I can is if her or I commit adultery. Will God condemn me to hell for wanting to leave and get a divorce? Well, I never feel like divorce is a first option or a second one. And I think there's a whole lot of things that need to happen before you even entertain that thought. It takes two people to have a relationship. And I would guess that if your wife is trying this hard to get your attention, maybe you ought to give it to her. It's a form of abuse when we ignore another person, when we're indifferent to another person, when we don't listen to their heart, when they tell us things over and over again and we don't get it, we don't listen. And marriage is supposed to be a partnership, but let's go a little bit deeper than that. Marriage is actually completing another person and you being completed by that other person as well. Generally, the things that you're excellent with, many times your spouse isn't, and vice versa. And then you celebrate the things you have in common, but that never is easy. It's never easy to be completed by another person. Never easy. It feels like, it feels like they're judging sometimes. It feels like they're trying to change you where you don't need change and all of that. But the bottom line for this kind of communication is love. Unconditional love. And you only work on those changes when you feel like you have a platform for it. And what is the platform? Well, again, unconditional love. In fact, the Bible says, husbands, love your wives just as Christ has loved the church and died for it. That's a whole lot of love. You see, that's what it takes. And I think that so many times, and there are a lot of situations, and I'm generalizing and I understand, but most of the time, it's because either the husband or the wife has failed, and a whole lot of times the husband has. Failed at what? Failed at being caring. Failed with listening, with empathizing, with sympathizing, with, just talk. There's a thing that guys are really good at before they get married, and that's romance. They kind of get it then. And for a guy, it's, romance is really to win over the woman. But romance comes very easily for women, and it continues throughout life. And when we start a relationship, we start with the romance phase, the romantic phase, where you see the other person bigger than life. Guys, you are, giving your wife-to-be, cards and candy and flowers and opening the doors for her and being very attentive. And in fact, when she describes you to your friends, they can't believe that she's talking about the same person because they know you better. But you're on your best behavior. You're trying to win her over. But it goes from the romantic stage to the realistic stage. The realistic stage is where you learn to be together, or you learn that you're not going to be together. For those people that get married in the romantic stage, that's a pretty tough thing because you don't know the other person yet. In the realistic stage, you begin to. All those things that you thought were cute before are not so cute now. And you begin to complete each other in some easy and some painful ways. And if you get through the realistic stage and you still love each other and you still realize that this is a person that you want to spend the rest of your life with, well, then you get into the secure stage where you know their faults and you can live with them. And you've learned how to communicate so that every time there's a little scuffle, a little disagreement, you get through it. That's the point where you get married. Yeah. Because there's so many things to work out. But in marriage, the same thing is true. And for this person that wrote to me, you're definitely in the realistic stage. But the secure stage is ahead. You just have to work at it. And you have to figure out what you're doing wrong to demand or to for her to want to get your attention so badly. Because she's really trying to. She's screaming out for love. You have to figure out why she's not getting it from you. A really good idea is to seek out a couple that you look up to, an older couple. A couple that's been married for a long time and you feel like has a successful marriage. Go talk to them. Ask them how they got through those kinds of times, because they've gone through it too. Everybody does. And ask them how they got through the problem to the other end, the secure stage. And begin to put things back together. You know, there's a really big reason why God doesn't like divorce. Because most of the time, it's because we're not willing to put the effort into making a relationship work. So I want you to think about this. And treat your wife well. Begin to love her unconditionally. Seek out some help because you do need it. And look forward to the secure stage because I believe you can get there. God bless you. Have a great day.